Hello, how are you doing? Over the winter break, I read an excellent and exquisite historical novel, which I've been really wanting to talk about, but haven't been able to because, like so many other people, right after Christmas, I got this wretched cold, which has been persisting, and a lingering cough, which I still have, but isn't quite as bad today. So I thought I could finally make a video talking about this book, which I haven't heard too many other people discussing. So I really want to talk about it and encourage more people to read it. The novel is Winter Flowers by Angelique Villeneuve, translated from the French by Adriana Hunter. And it's quite a short book, and I think it's so special because it's a very quiet novel that allows the emotional significance of its story to arise out of historical events and through the concentrated tale of this family, rather than having very dramatic or showy events. It takes place directly after World War I in late 1918, when a French soldier named Toussaint returns home to his wife Jeanne and their daughter in Paris. He's been away for multiple years and was wounded and facially disfigured in battle, and though his much anticipated return is very welcome, everyone has been much altered by war, disease, and poverty. The majority of the story takes place within the confined quarters of their humble abode, where Jeanne spends exhaustive hours fashioning these small fake flowers to adorn women's attire in upscale boutiques. And there are these wonderful descriptions of these fake flowers all around their home, sort of strung up and waiting to be packed and sent away, and how difficult it is to craft these flowers. And this family must slowly readjust to each other's presence in the wake of this war. Their interactions are often awkward, and Jeanne must frequently guess at her husband Toussaint's thoughts because he's so often silent. So it's a very meditative experience following this family as they grapple with different kinds of grief and accept what's been lost. And it's also a very focused portrait of a country that has been traumatized by war. It's intriguing how even though Toussaint and Jeanne share a bed again, there's still a great mental, emotional, and sexual gulf between them. Jeanne must mull over the brief, cryptic remarks that he makes, and she's reduced to following her husband when he makes these unannounced lawn excursions. So her desperation to better understand and connect with her husband is palpable, and I think it's very moving how this story presents a couple who aren't able to emotionally connect with each other and share their thoughts with each other. And even though this is a very universal sense that can be experienced between so many different couples, it's within this very specific context after a war. There's also an uncertainty for the characters concerning what's happening in the country, and this is presented in an innovative way in one chapter where each line in this chapter begins with the phrase "word is," so it's kind of gossip and the what's being said on the street between characters concerning rations of food and news about the war. And so in this way she's presenting the voice and sense of a whole community in their sense of trying to prepare for what might come in the future. And this reminded me somewhat of the great writer Annie Ernaux, Nobel Prize winning Annie Ernaux, who also presents in her books this sense of both an individual and collective psyche in order to understand the thoughts and concerns of a whole country of people, or a specific segment of a country history of people. Not only is there an aching tension between this husband and wife, but between these parents and their girl, Leonie. At one point, Jean lashes out against their girl in a way which is shocking and heartbreaking, but which also shows the struggle to effectively communicate with one another despite living in such close quarters. Additionally, there's a absent family member in this home, which is delicately woven into the larger narrative. The novel presents the continuing impact of many different kinds of loss for this family, as well as their neighbor Sidonie, who once had a large family herself, but she's now perilously alone. So even though this central family are lucky to still have one another, there are still these sorrowful gulfs between them. For such a seemingly low-key story, the author powerfully presents how bereavement creates both barriers and bonds between individuals who must rely on one another. I found reading this a very moving experience, and I think it's an understated historical masterpiece. This author has published several novels in France, but this is her first novel to be translated into English. It was published almost a couple of years ago, but like I said, I think it deserves to be much more widely read, and I hope more of her work is translated into English. I know in France she's won multiple awards, and so this was published by Pereni Press, which is a great small publisher here in the UK, and they often publish short translated books such as this with a beautiful cover design. And so I bought this when they had a winter sale, and because winter is in the title, I was just eager to get to it. And also I first heard about it from the author Claire Fuller, who provided a blurb about it, but I saw her posting about it on Instagram, and she was so effusive in her praise for it that I just knew I really wanted to read it, and I'm so glad I did. So I hope you read this book as well. If you have read it, please let me know what you think about it in the comments below, and yeah, we can only hope that more of her work is translated into English. But yeah, I particularly admire it as a very quiet book, and I think a lot of quiet stories like this, aren't talked about as much as they should be. I'd love to hear about it as well if there are other quiet novels like this that you've really enjoyed and that you would recommend. Please let me know about that as well. But I hope you're doing well and staying healthy, and I'll speak to you again soon.